Okay, guys, I'm back right away. We are doing the second part to this Fab Fatties episode about why fat people avoid the doctor, the nuance of health and compassionate care. I hope you watched part one. If not, go back and watch that. I have a lot to say about this topic as somebody who's both fat. For one, I'm obesity class 3. I'm technically small fat. Yeah, I know that makes zero sense. I've been super fat, mid fat, and small fat in obesity class 3. But hey, I'm 5'5" because that has a lot to do with it. Hoping to be out of obesity class 3 very soon. Yeah, that being said, I have a lot to say about this, as I said, because I have been fat, I have been in the medical system, I have a disability, I have all these different things, and we are here to talk about it some more. My voice is still completely ruined from my vacation in Austin with Alex, okay? With the Charlie XCX concert, I scream too much, voice is terrible, also allergies, etc. You get the deal. Anyways, let's jump right into it. Let's catch up on part 2. They were just talking about how health and such were triggering topics. Okay, we're just gonna do our best with that.
And so when we're going around and we're talking in a general public sense, or even with friends who haven't taken the time to be like, well, what does health mean to you, right? It can be very easily triggering. Those phrases, it's almost like we need a whole new language to talk about it outside of that system.
Yeah. Yeah, Allie, I want to hold some space. No, please do not apologize. We can either hold space not recording or while we are recording, but I do want to hold space for what's coming up.
I hate that phrase. I hate it. Holding space. Ugh. Just say you're taking some time for her to deal with her emotions. But I hate this therapy language. I hate it.
Because it's so heavy.
I just, it's no secret to you guys. I have a lot of regrets when it comes to my dad. And obviously with, him not being here, there's nothing I can do about them, right? But there's just so many layers to him and who he was that I only get to learn and process now that he's gone. And that's really hard. It's really hard because I didn't know any of this, I didn't know any of this when I still had him. And I wish I did. Because there were times in my life where I was mad at him because he wasn't pursuing quote unquote health in the way that I was taught health was supposed to look like.
You can't punish yourself for that. You can't punish yourself.
This is a really difficult topic. I do really feel sorry for her. I mean, nobody should have to lose their dad that young. And I can definitely have empathy for, what her experience is in that regard. But I do think there's a lot of projection going on here, especially in terms of they talk about her father pursuing health, etc. And it's just, that's a little ridiculous. That's definitely a tough topic, okay? Because when I hang, I feel sorry for her, but it's also like we have to acknowledge the truth. If your dad was significantly overweight and he wasn't trying to better his life in a physical way, there's only so much you can do. There's only so much you can do in regards to that. So that's the part you shouldn't be feeling bad about. But instead, we're going to talk about a system that apparently kept him from being happy. That's the situation I'm talking about, where it's parents who do owe their children health, because look how upset she is. She's living without her dad.
This is honestly copy and paste the same stuff I tell my parents. My parents did the best that they could with the information they had available. They didn't know that they were encouraging me to have an eating disorder. They didn't know that.
Yeah.
Right? This is why it's so important to talk about, because it's not what's being packaged and delivered.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel for you, because it can feel really
sad, frustrating.
It's really sad and frustrating. You're empowered in one sense, but you can't change this thing, right? I am proud of you for taking the empowered stance you have now, the views you have now, and at least communicating them with other people and approaching the people who are in your life currently with those views and with that compassion, right?
Yeah.
We can't go back in time and know what we know now. That's like that scenario of like, can you go back to high school being an adult that knows what you know now? That's a movie.
I wish I could.
It's a movie,
Yeah.
We don't get to play out that storyline. But let me tell you, as much as that learning may not have helped him, I am sure that there is something about a legacy of his story helping you with yours. Seeing what happened with him and changing it for yourself, right?
That was really beautiful.
And what a gift to get from learning from your dad.
Yeah, my dad was just a really special person, and he did have mental health issues that I do wish he had put some time into. But no, I don't think he owed them to me, but my dad was a special person that it just hurts. It hurts because he was a special person that was only seen for his size.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very interesting where she had to stop herself and backtrack to stay intellectually consistent. Where she said, he didn't, I wish he had worked in his mental health, but he doesn't know that to me. It's like, no, I'm sorry. If you're a parent, you do owe it to your children. You brought life into this world. It's your responsibility to care for that life, even well beyond the age of 18. Like, that's what I think a huge issue is, that when I talk about this individualist mindset, it's like, you have to care for other people, especially if they're in your family. Like, that's bare minimum. It's very unfortunate that she's now taking on this position where she feels like she has to say, my dad doesn't owe me his health. And now she's on camera crying about the whole thing. And she's going to blame it about how he was treated as a fat person. And it's like, well, as you said, there was some other mental health issues going on that obviously contributed. And I would not be surprised at all if it was mental health issues that contributed to him being of a larger size as well. It's just strange to me that they can't see how that's all connected.
And he was so much more than that.
We are all so much more than that.
I mean, I hate to segue. We don't have to segue.
No, we can segue
But
for sure.
the whole being seen as just your size is why medical professionals are so hard to go talk to, because it's hard to find a medical professional who wants and takes the time to see the whole picture, doesn't just look at the weight and say XYZ, or even finding a doctor who doesn't look at weight as meaning one thing. You know, like, you could get doctors who maybe won't say anything, but they're not looking at weight as a complex situation, you know? And so, like, navigating situations where you are going in with the possibility, with a very high likelihood of being seen only for your size, and having to advocate for yourself and having to mentally prepare for it, having to deal with misdiagnosis or bad medical care in the process is a humongous task that prevents fat people from seeking out professional help to begin with, but also means that the professional help they get isn't always up to standard.
That leads me directly into the first question I wanted to ask today.
Okay.
Which is, I feel like sometimes online we see the stories from folks in larger bodies being like, oh, I went for knee pain and I was prescribed weight loss.
Mm-hmm.
What is your personal most blind side of a weight loss diagnosis? I don't know what word we want to use there. Prescription, excuse me. Prescription, I think, is the right word.
Okay, that was a very interesting example that she used there about somebody going in for knee pain and getting prescribed weight loss. Like, that's a very obvious one. If you're overweight and you're having knee pain, yeah, losing some weight can help with that. Now, what brought you in for that knee pain? Was it just generalized knee pain? Did you fall on your knee? Like, what happened? Because like, that does make a huge difference. Because I've gone to the doctor for knee pain, and definitely I've told them, like, you know, or they told me, I should say, they need to lose weight. And I say, oh, actually, I fell on my knee and that's why it hurts. And then they're like, oh, okay. And then they actually look at the issue. So yeah, there can be some, if they don't listen to you, they can say that. But oftentimes doctors will listen. They'll be like, what happened? What are you here for? You don't say my knee hurts. You say, I fell on my knee and now it hurts. So it's not like going in for, I don't know, something like, I have eczema on my scalp. And they're like, you should lose weight. Like, that's just not going to happen. And anybody who says it does, like, I mean, I want to meet that doctor, okay, because they're probably a little kooky. So I want to hear what she has to say. What's the story that she's going to tell us?
When were you most caught off guard by a weight loss prescription from a doctor?
Well, it's interesting because I thought you were going somewhere differently at first. I thought you were going to a place where our weight meant they changed the way we were treated, and definitely have something for that.
Oh,
I like this angle.
I would say, I mean, probably the one that shocked me the most is just because I was a teenager. So I was in high school and going to my family physician I had seen for forever. I was probably pretty young, probably before driving age. I don't know what I was going there for. If I were to guess, potentially heavy periods.
Okay.
That's my first thought. And the doctor very casually said, well, have you thought about having weight loss surgery? And
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
right to surgery.
Yeah. And so, well, that doctor had also put me on phentermine, which gave me heart palpitations and such. So she had given me a pill form to make me lose weight before then. But I think I was, this was pretty early on. My aunt had weight loss surgery already at the time, but she was one of the very early people to have it. And it seemed like such a scary thing. And not to say that's not scary now, but being decades into people having this surgery feels very different than being like 1 to 2 years to it becoming a popular surgery.
Yeah.
And I would say as an adult, I was also told to have weight loss surgery. And then I asked her, because at that point in time, I had already looked into it a couple times. And I was like, okay, but I don't qualify in XYZ ways. And she had no idea any of that. So I was like, okay, so you just saw fat equals, say, weight loss surgery. Like, she didn't actually know anything about weight loss surgery. And as soon as I asked her a couple questions, I was like, got it.
Okay, I 100% agree with her there. It sounds like that was just a really bad doctor, and y'all should stop going to her. And I'm pretty sure probably you did because you're an adult now. But geez, that's crazy. Like, you're not even driving age and you're put on phentermine? That's insane. That's a stimulant. Like, that's a stimulant. She's doing that fully formed brain. Let's put you on a stimulant so you can lose weight. That's crazy. And then to recommend weight loss surgery then to somebody who's not even fully grown yet, that's crazy. That's just being a bad doctor. And I can totally agree with her there that is an issue. Yeah, I mean, I definitely had doctors refuse to look at my heavy bleeding because I had PCOS, and they just refused to like do any practical research into the matter. And they said, you need to lose weight. My mom was like, well, at the time I wasn't that overweight. Okay, I was like, and some people will be like, oh my God, that was like super overweight. I was probably around 180 pounds and I couldn't lose weight. Now that's, in my opinion, for somebody who would like, that's within 50 pounds of like the very, very middle of like, for my height and size, the very middle of a healthy BMI. 50 pounds overweight is still a lot overweight. That's still like obese now, or close to it. No. It's like right in the overweight, like right at the border of obese. You know what I mean? It's around there. The doctor's just saying, well, you're just not working hard enough. And I was just like, no. Like I'm eating until I'm full. I'm not eating a lot. And to like, a proportion of like 250 calories over does not look like that much than a proportion that you're supposed to be eating. Okay. And she's like, you need to exercise more. Well, I was exercising all the time. Like I was in fencing, I was in like martial arts, I was doing a whole bunch of stuff and I wasn't losing weight. A lot of it had to do with just having PCOS. And it was just like my hunger cues were not in check. Right. And so I was eating slightly more than I should. So I wasn't losing weight. And then after that, just more hormonal issues spiraled out of control, et cetera, et cetera. You know the story. And so, yeah, you do get bad doctors for sure who are going to give you terrible, really, really bad advice. But at the end of the day, it is still you who's eating. It's still you who's putting food in your mouth. You have the ability to track what you're eating. Now, I think it's very, very different when you're a child, when you're under the care of somebody else. I know it sounds dumb. I don't take any responsibility for anything I did under age 18. Okay. And basically, as long as I was living with my parents, because like I didn't know any better. I really didn't. Now, as an adult, I had to spend all of my 20s trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And I eventually did. And now I'm in a position where I'm actually losing weight. So it can take a very long time to do these things, but it can be done. And it sucks. It definitely sucks that it takes us a long time and everybody else gets the easy end of the stick of, not being born with a bunch of diseases or mental health issues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, life isn't fair and there's nothing you can do about it. And you just got to, play with the hand that life dealt you.
Understood.
That's super frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
I think mine actually was very recent. And you guys were both a part of this time in my life. It was after my dad passed away. It was after, I left my marriage. I was just not in a good place. And I was very quickly and inexplicably losing weight. And not just losing weight, I was losing my hair. I was very drastically seeing changes in my body that I was unintentionally, I was not doing any of it intentionally. There was no dieting. There was no, I wasn't doing anything to make any of that happen. And so a couple of times I got really sick, and every doctor that I went to, I'm like, hey, this is really concerning me. Every single one. Congratulations. I am sick, doc.
Mm-hmm.
I am sick. I feel terrible. I feel like I'm on the verge of passing out every morning. I every time I come in here, I'm another handful of pounds down and my hair keeps falling out, and you're telling me congratulations. So that to me told me all you see
Mm-hmm.
is just, as long as I'm smaller, it's a win.
Yeah.
And that felt the most invalidating out of, because I've had the doctors who were like, oh, your stomach hurts, lose weight. Like, oh, your head hurts, lose weight. And all of those got trumped by the, hey, I think there's something wrong with me. Congratulations.
I'm just trying to imagine going to a dentist, like, hey, this tooth is turning a different color. And they're like, well, I like the decoration of it. Let's look at your other teeth.
Right?
Like they get to decide if it's a good or bad thing, regardless of you coming in to address that thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm embarrassed to admit mine
Don't be.
because it
Okay, I was really hoping that she would go into more detail about what exactly that health problem was. I understand it may be private, she doesn't want to share it, but I really wonder, like, what was it? Was it like cancer? Was it like hyperthyroidism? What was it? Like she was like losing weight so quickly and her hair was falling out. Was it stress? Obviously, it is extremely concerning if she's, losing her hair and such. I think it was terribly ridiculous that the doctors didn't take her seriously. I mean, if you're not intentionally losing weight, and you've been a certain size for a very long time, that is something doctors should look into and be like, it's probably a good thing that you should lose weight, definitely. But since you're not actually trying to lose weight, let's, run a few tests and see what we can find. That should be a bare minimum. Now, I have to wonder, did they do that? Because she didn't say what they actually did. They just said congratulations. But did they actually do those things that I mentioned? Because if they did, you can take whatever they said with a grain of salt, but did they actually follow up on it? That's what I want to know. And she didn't talk about that in detail, because maybe they probably did. Maybe they did follow up on it, and she's presenting this story from a very, very biased angle.
it feels very shameful. I was in high school, and I have these like little bumps on my arms, like up at the top. It's really common apparently.
I do too.
Okay, I wanted to do something about it at the time. I don't know. I just wanted to. And I went to a dermatologist. I've not been to a dermatologist since this experience.
Mm-hmm.
But I went in and she never asked me why I was there. She went straight to the acne on my face. She went, great, let's do something about this. And then she went and then she like finished up telling me all about my skincare, my face. And she went, great, so what are we doing about the weight? And
Jesus
I
Christ.
was so unbelievably embarrassed. My mom was there in the room and like just literally completely froze. And truly I like have wanted to go to a dermatologist since. I've been told that I should like go get my skin checked out and stuff, and I literally cannot get myself to go. I scheduled an appointment, I canceled it because it just like I was so, I feel like there's an aspect of like, as a fat person, when you're going to the doctor, you like prepare yourself.
You do.
Right? You're like ready for it. You like how you want to answer the questions at some point. Like you're like, I'm ready to go. And I just was not ready. And it landed so aggressively. Like I literally was there for bumps on my arms and we never even talked about it.
That is horrible. I totally believe that the feelings that they have around this are 100% real. I really, really do. And like I said, some of these are a little bit more suspicious than others. That one, though, that just sounds like a terrible dermatologist. And I'm really sorry that happened to her, especially since she went there for a different issue and it never even got addressed. It's awful that people freeze like that. Like, that's not something I ever do in a doctor's office. And I will fight my doctor. I'll be like, hey, over here, I'm talking to you. I'm gonna listen to me. Because a lot of times they're just very go. But the fact that they went in there and a dermatologist asked about the weight, like that's weird to me. That I never had a dermatologist ask me about that before. That's very strange. I've asked my dermatologist about weight stuff because I was like, is there anything related to my skin that you can see that might be causing the weight issue? And she was actually the one that said, well, you got this yeast infection on your scalp and you have this acne that's going on right here. She's like, those two skin things together actually could be an indicator of PCOS. Has anybody ever talked about PCOS for it? I was like, no, what's that? And then within like a couple of months, I went back to Japan and I got diagnosed with PCOS at a Japanese hospital. That happened. But I can't understand having very, very horrific doctor's experiences that leads you to never want to go back to a different or a specific type of doctor ever again. And it's very difficult for other doctors to understand that because they're like, we need to get these health things taken care of. You need to go to this doctor. And you're like, no. And they're all talking about from a perspective of being fat. I'm coming at this from perspective of just being a person. Like I had such a horrific experience at a gynecologist. Like take in mind, I've been to a gynecologist before. No issue. And then I came back to the States because I was in Japan. I had the good experience with the one who helped diagnose with PCOS. Came back to the States, went to a gynecologist, or went to a doctor to get like a pap smear. One of the most horrific experiences of my entire life, to the point where I told my doctor, I don't care. I'm never getting a pap smear again. And I don't care if anybody here wants to come for me and be like, oh, danger, cervical cancer, blah, blah. No, that's how bad it was. Maybe one day I'll get over that. But you know what? Maybe you should have thought about that before you did what you did to me. So yeah, I can totally understand from that perspective. Like, why would you want to go back to a dermatologist if you were embarrassed like that? Now, for me, it's a little bit different. My experience was very traumatic. It was very painful. There was a lot of issues that occurred because of it. But this one was just like an embarrassment factor. So in this case, like this is definitely like a cringe thing. You know, like I was so embarrassed. Mine's a little bit more traumatic. So I can understand it, but I think it's still different. Unfortunately, bad doctors exist. Bad professionals exist in every field. And you're going to run into that whether you're fat or not. You're going to run into that whether you're there for being fat or having fat addressed or not.
I think that's just so indicative of exactly what we're talking about, right? It's I told the doctor I had knee pain and they prescribed weight loss, right?
Yep.
It's constantly being invalidated. It's constantly being unseen, unheard, and saying, hey, I also deserve medical care for the things that I care about without you taking one look at me and thinking weight loss is going to solve all of my problems.
Yeah.
Because it's not.
Yeah.
It's just that, and that, again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice, but it's just not. And that's a fact.
Well, what it shows is that your doctor's approach alone can alter your health journey.
Yes.
I'm curious about like a situation with a doctor where you feel like they did alter your health journey in some kind of way. For me, one of the biggest health issues I've found until I got an IUD. An IUD, bless you, IUD. Honestly, an IUD has changed my life, okay? As I've always had period issues. Very heavy periods, no periods for months, heavy periods. So I was going through a situation where I was having really heavy periods that were unending, like 3-month-long period, etc. I went in to see my doctor. I was bouncing around different family doctors at the time, and my doctor happened to be gone. I saw another doctor who was relatively young and a man, and not that really gives him any leeway, but I went in and I was like, okay, I was prescribed these birth control pills, but I'm still experiencing X, Y, Z. And he's like, and I was like, I don't know if it has something to do with my body size. I immediately put it on my body size. I was like, I don't know if this has something to do with my body size. I don't know if that means the dosage needs to go up. That's literally what I said, not knowing anything about anything. And he's like, that might be right. What if you double your dose? This man decided to have me double my birth control dose. That's not what should happen.
Mm-mm.
You are probably just having the wrong hormone in your body. This made the lining in my uterus get so big and be so hard and painful to pass that I had to have a DNC to remove the lining of my uterus, which is the blood lining. DNCs are often what's performed after you can't successfully hold a baby, things like that. It's clearing out your uterus. And I was young enough at that point in time that I never said anything to anyone. I just assumed it was my fault. Never said, hey, this person put me on a medical plan that harmed me, that made me lose so much blood I had to get infusions, that made me have to pay and have a DNC process. That's one of the things, like now at my age, at the wise old age of almost 37, like I am going to tell on you. If you are a medical person who harms me, I will be reporting you. But back then, my fault. My fault.
Yikes. Yeah, that case, like, oh my gosh. Like, we don't have any confirmation it was about her body size. It doesn't really matter. Wow. I have never heard that. Like, double your dose because it's like not working. Like, geez. And here's the thing about this. It's like she's gonna talk about body size. No, birth control is a massive, massive issue for all women, regardless of body size. Okay, it messes up our system horrendously. Now, I had PCOS and birth control worked very well for me for several years. I am now off of it and it's fine. But dang, it's like I think in general, women's reproductive health care is terrible. It is awful. People don't understand it. Doctors don't even understand it, and they specialize in it. And so, like, I'm real far stressed to say that has anything to do with her body size. I just think that has to do with being a woman. I'm sorry, I went there. I really do. It sucks. I feel really bad for that was the case. I've also had a lot of really bad doctors when it came to my really, really terrible periods. And a lot of the heavy periods, what I came to find out, it's a lot of it's diet, it's body fat for sure, diet and body fat for sure. But also what I learned was like the average like period product is extremely toxic and they're linking it to heavier periods. So it's kind of crazy, right? Like buy this period product to help, catch the blood from your period, but it's also to give you heavier periods so you can use more and buy more. Like it's crazy. It's like ruining women's bodies. Like I didn't have a normal period in my life until I was 35. I use period underwear now. TMI, I don't care. That's advice for you other women out there. Get period underwear. I use Isle, like AISLE. It's just like really good period underwear from Canada of all places. But they do a lot of independent testing to make sure they're non-toxic and they're very comfortable. They come in cute colors, etc. Just get that. Just do that. Don't put any weird options in you. Don't buy toxic products like period pads or tampons or anything like that. Just go what's natural, period underwear. It might seem gross to you, but then you won't deal with all this other toxic BS.
So I am curious. It doesn't necessarily have to be negative. Have you had a medical professional that changed the direction of your health journey?
I did.
And I will say after that, I met another male gynecologist. I switched to another gynecologist. And he said something that made a lot of sense. He said, when you have fat in your body, fat cells actually create testosterone. And so what you need to balance your system is progesterone. You should have never been on birth control. You should have been on this progesterone hormone. And they have a birth control version of that, and they have just the hormone version of that. As soon as I went on progesterone, I had normal periods for years.
How incredibly frustrating that the answer was so simple.
Yeah.
Oh.
And literally just because at the time I wasn't having sex, I didn't care to have a birth control. I just stayed on progesterone hormones, and it affected my mood. It affected everything.
I'm not saying this because I think it's going to be groundbreaking. I'm saying this because my dad said it to me, and it was groundbreaking for me. And my dad looked at me one time and he goes, somewhere out there is the world's worst doctor. And I was like, damn, you're so right. Just because they're a doctor does not mean that they know everything. And it made me feel empowered to start questioning some things.
Yeah.
So when I got diagnosed with PCOS, that same dermatologist, I went back to her like the next year I came back from Japan just to like visit my family. And she's like, I don't put people on birth control. You have to go talk to your gynecologist. And I feel like all doctors should have that mentality, because I remember when I went in for my really bad periods when I was like 16 years old, the doctor was like, let's put her on birth control. My mom was like, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to pump hormones into her body. And there's like, that doctor was terrible. But back then we had TRICARE, and TRICARE, you weren't allowed to choose your doctor. Most doctors didn't take TRICARE at that time. It's a lot more open now. There's a lot more options, but back in the day, you had very limited options. And we had to go to these really horrible doctors that took TRICARE. And so like there's a lot of doctors who just like they just pass out birth control like it's candy. And you really have to evaluate what kind of birth control is going to work for what kind of woman. And so she's right. Like, when you have like PCOS and the fat cells, you're producing androgynous hormones, which can be like testosterone, and you have to balance it out. Now, it would be easier just to lose the fat cells, in my personal opinion. But sometimes, you have to go on, and this is controversial, sometimes you do have to go on the hormone in order to make like your body like function properly so you can lose weight. That's what I used the birth control for. Is like I needed to get my periods under control so I wasn't passing out at work. And when I wasn't passing out at work anymore, I actually had energy to go to the gym and work out. I had energy to like not eat as much. Because guess what, guys? If you're losing a whole bunch of blood, like I know TMI again, if you're really feeling like bogged down by your period, it is very, very, very difficult to just do anything other than sit on the couch and eat. It is really important to help get that under control. And no, I had those issues even when I was a normal weight. So yeah, losing body fat can help, but obviously you can still have it when your body fat's normal. They call it skinny PCOS, but in my opinion, you don't stay skinny forever.
I mean, if you want to take that even further, those are usually the doctors that insurance companies are calling up to say, hey, do we have a valid reason to deny this claim? And they send the file to that doctor, the doctor that has never seen the patient, never put hands on the patient, to say, yeah, absolutely, because of this. And it's usually that kind of doctor. So yeah, your dad's right. And also, isn't it wild? Isn't it fucking wild? God, I'm mad now. Isn't it wild? I'm sorry. This doctor basically forced you to have an abortion. Isn't it wild?
There was no baby.
I'm sorry. I know, but it's just I go to extremes. isn't it wild that this second doctor took 2 seconds to instead say, instead of, well, you're fat, so we're gonna have to, just, I don't know, let's fuck some shit up, to just go, okay, you have extra fat on your body. So here's the solution that has nothing to do
Right.
with you being whatever. I'm angry.
Literally, and the second doctor literally.
Okay, did you hear how she caught herself there? Here's the solution. It has nothing to do with you being whatever. She meant nothing to do with you being fat, except she's like, oh no, the problem did actually have with you to do with you being fat. It's just the second doctor was just better because he provided a realistic explanation. He was saying, well, you're fat, therefore these hormones are going to react this way, and you need to balance out your hormones, and then your periods will balance. And that makes sense. And it's also acknowledging the reality of the fatness in this case, right? But yeah, it's so interesting she had to avoid that topic and talk around it like, oh, it's like, no, it actually had to do with the fact that she was fat. Because fat cells create testosterone. That's how it works.
Nothing was judgmental. Nothing was any of that. He was like, you need this. Your body the way it is, you need this.
He literally was just,
Thank you, sir. That's what I need.
X plus Y equals Z, and this is what you need. Like, that's it. And the other guy's like, oh, I don't fucking know, just double it.
And I'm like,
bro,
I think it's because I suggested it. I suggested, like, is it a dosage thing? I'm like, you made a medical decision off of a 22, 23-year-old saying maybe it's a dosage issue because I just assumed my body's bigger. I need bigger
22,
pills.
23-year-old who, no offense, never went to medical school?
No.
Okay, cool. Oh, all right. Well, I'm angry and I'm already angry. So let's get on to my guy. He's still very much practicing here in Charlotte. He's a urologist. And I'm going to preface this with, and I know I don't need to explain this or anything, but I have always had urology issues. I've always had kidney issues. I was born with a deformed kidney. It looked like a cat's paw. They're supposed to look like kidney beans. And also, I have an extra large bladder. These two can pee 10 times a day. And meanwhile, I'm like, I'm good, you guys. I'm good. Because normally a bladder is the size of a golf ball. Mine's the size of a softball. So now you know more about me than you ever needed to. But I digress.
Literally yesterday, I'm like,
No, I was going to say it too.
I was like, what's wrong with y'all? I've gone bathroom twice since we've been together.
Stop bladder shaming me.
I went once.
I didn't realize you had gone, but I often worry about Allie. I'm like, how have I peed this many times and you haven't gone at all?
Because I have a superpower.
Okay.
I just got a big ass bladder. I got a big ass bladder. Anyway, so I've always had these issues. It is not because I'm fat, but I've always had these issues. And since I was a little kid, I literally had like major reconstructive surgeries in 4th and 5th grade. I was like homebound for most of 4th and 5th grade because I was recovering from these surgeries. Like, I've always had these issues. But it wasn't until 2021, I believe, that I had my very first kidney stone. And it was fucking so painful. Absolutely so painful. I did find out later that actually a medication that my previous doctor had put me on that was quote unquote supposed to help me with some mental health stuff, I also found out was kind of covertly supposed to do a little bit of weight loss magic, which I wasn't aware of, can also lead to, helping you develop kidney stones.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of the medication, but my neurologist actually took the time to explain this to me because that's what good doctors do. When I was going through the different migraine medications, there are definitely some migraine medications that double as mental health medications, and those mental health medications can sometimes have some weight loss, implications that go along with them. There's some mental health medications that can cause weight gain, but there are some that they do like multiple things. They can help your mental health. They can help prevent migraines, etc., and they can cause weight loss. And it was funny because my neurologist talked about this. He's like, "This is a great medication for you. It's going to help you lose weight. The only thing is that you cannot take it if you ever had kidney stones." And I'm like, "Great!" At that point, I had 45 kidney stones, and he's like, "Oh, can't do that." And I was like, "Yeah, I know." Yeah, so I couldn't go on that medication. So she's absolutely right. That medication does exist because I remember my doctor talking to me about it. And oh my God, kidney stones are so bad. I've had over 65 kidney stones now, and I haven't had some in a while. Now it's kind of like, if they're small enough, I barely even feel them until they're like coming out of me. And I was like, oh, I had a kidney stone. Wow, okay, whatever. And sometimes it just feels like a bad backache. But when it first started, before like my ureter got all like loose like a slip and slide, it was terrible. It was so bad. It was like I had such bad pain. One time I hallucinated the white mask demon from Spirited Away. I wasn't on any medication or anything. I swear, like I hallucinated that demon from that movie. Okay, yeah, so that's what pain can do to you sometimes, guys. So I totally like I get that, like yikes. It's unfortunate it happened, but there's no way to know they can cause kidney stones if you're prone to kidney stones. It's like that is one of those co-occurring things where you gotta like you don't know what's gonna happen. But I'm sure she was not on it longer after that.
I digress. I go in because I have this kidney stone. I went to the ER and they're like, oh no, you have a massive kidney
Oh my
stone
gosh.
and we could let you pass it, but that would honestly be irresponsible of us. So we need you to go and get it taken out. So they refer me to this guy. I go and see him and he's like, no, we're going to take it out this afternoon. And I told this man, I have taken AZO. It is, I mean, they make a lot of different products, but they make a, like when you have a bladder infection, like a urinary tract infection, they make a pill that makes it hurt less, right? But it also turns your everything in there like red, like this bright orange red, like it looks kind of crazy. Okay. I told this man that. Told him that. I go in for surgery that afternoon and it was unsuccessful. They could not get it out. And the AZO thing comes back later. But the first thing this motherfucker does when I wake up in recovery is say, you need to lose weight because we had a hard time regulating your anesthesia or regulating your breathing under anesthesia. And then proceeds to tell me that, oh, also we couldn't get that kidney stone in there because it looked like you had an entire bottle of Orange Crush up there. Sir, I told you that I took AZO, number one. Number two, you fucked it up. And less than 24 hours later, I was back in the emergency room in septic shock. Because not only did he not get it out, but he dislodged it. And so in dislodging it, all of the that had been like behind the kidney stone as it was building, it was like there was bacteria went into my bloodstream and I literally was dying. I was in the hospital for 5 days.
Yikes. Yeah. That's also bad medical care. I like how she shoehorned in the whole anesthesia thing. That's true. It's difficult to put someone under anesthesia when they're significantly overweight. Now, as far as everything else, nothing to do with her weight. Like the whole like Orange Crush urine thing. Bad doctor. And I definitely had urologists like try to really pressure me into getting a kidney stone like removed surgically. And they're like, well, if you experience any symptoms of septic shock, get to come back in right away. And I was like, yeah, dude, I can pass this thing. Give me a muscle relaxer. Let's go. And but like surgeons are like ready to get in there. And he was saying I was taking my life into my hands. I've never had a kidney stone removed via surgery. I passed them all. Okay. But I collect them like infinity stones. But yeah, I remember the first time I had a kidney stone. I was 19. My parents were in Europe. My brother was in Africa. I was home alone in Michigan. And it was summer vacation. I was taking an accounting class over the summer at the local community college between semesters at my regular college. And there was nobody there to take me to the hospital when I had this mysterious pain appear in my side other than my friend's dad. So it was me, a 19-year-old girl, and like a 50-something-year-old man who was not related to me taking me to the hospital. And they were wondering, like, is he like an sex, traffic? You know what I mean? Like, is she drug seeking? Like, what's going on? And it was like, no, I had a freaking kidney stone. And I was in that hospital room for 6 hours. And they didn't give me any pain medication. I was not significantly overweight. They treated me like shit regardless. Yeah. SHIT. I admitted that word. Sorry. But yeah, this comes down to it. Doctors are kind of crap. It doesn't really matter what your weight is. They're going to treat you like crap regardless. And that's just my experience in the medical system. It'd be easy to blame it on your weight, but just ask any thin person the horrible medical treatment that they have received if they had any serious condition. And I bet you they have stories. The only difference is if you're overweight, you're more likely to have more serious medical conditions, and therefore you're more likely going to experience these things at a higher level. And so it's like, yes, technically you're experiencing them because you're overweight, but not because of the mistreatment, but because you're more likely to have issues.
All right. So they did finally get it out. But yeah, the first thing that this man tells me upon waking up is not, hey, I'm so sorry, it wasn't successful. Hey, how you doing? Nothing. You need to lose weight because we had a hard time doing our job. Sir, I told you the information that you needed to know. And also, if like, I don't know. Anyway, I digress.
It's also worth mentioning that there is a high level of surgeons who are psychopaths. And I'm not saying that in a colloquial term. I mean, like, they're like literally psychopaths. Like, they have zero bedside manner. They succeeded in a system that was created by a cocaine addict. If you look into the history of the medical system, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's crazy. Yeah. And so what kind of person has to be able to succeed in that kind of environment? It's a psychopath. So when you come to surgeons and things like that, like, it's weird to me whenever I meet surgeons, like there's always something wrong with them. And if you are a surgeon, I'm not talking about you, maybe you're normal, but the overwhelming majority of surgeons I've met, it's like, what is wrong with your brain? Like, I'm sure you're smart, but like you have an animal brain or something. Like there is something wrong with you. And I can see it from here. Okay, this ain't Green's Anatomy. Okay, we're not having love affairs and being emotional and crying in the break room. No, this is real life where surgeons are like, they're ready to chop you up and they're not going to feel any way about it.
So what did I do after that? I decided that was all of my fault. I called up this person I knew who was like a personal trainer and all this other shit. And I told this person, look, I am not going to be successful with like a majorly restrictive, like completely upending my life kind of thing. And what did she do? Can put me on a completely upending my life kind of thing. We're like, oh no, just swap out your coffee for mushrooms. Like just the weirdest kind of shit. And like I'm supposed to be drinking this clear broth stuff, like very restrictive diet kind of thing. And I was paying like a lot of money for this, a lot of money. But yeah, I basically decided it was all my fault that I almost died because this man said that to me.
Okay, I'm going to end it there for now. We'll do parts, I don't know, 3, maybe there's 4. I don't really know yet at a different time, but I just want to talk about that last little bit she threw in there where she conflated the surgeon being awful to her going on a very, very reductive, I'm not saying that a word, reductive diet, where she engaged in a lot of unhealthy behaviors and she blamed the person putting her on it for those behaviors as well. And it's like, girl, you engaged them. You followed those directions. Okay. And if you were feeling crap about it, you should have been doing it. But it's like, that's another thing too. It's like when these people with these behaviors go to dieting, they go to the most extreme form of dieting. They don't take it easy of cutting 50 calories. And she's like, I don't want to do that. Okay, then why didn't you not do that? Why didn't you just say, look at your basal metabolic rate at the current weight you are and cut 50 calories. Count your calories, cut 50 calories. If that's going well, the next week, cut another 50 calories. Okay, that's literally all you have to do. You don't have to make it extreme. And yet she made it so extreme that she's like, I can never do it again. That's crazy. And yeah, I feel for them. I actually do believe some of these medical stories because I can totally see how it's happening. And I've experienced the similar things or different issues with medication where I'm like, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about there. But it's just interesting. Like it's because like sometimes, yeah, it has to do with your weight. Sometimes it really doesn't. Sometimes it really, really doesn't. And now you're complaining it with your weight because of a way that a doctor made you feel. A doctor's an a-hole. I'm sorry about that. But the anesthesia, realistic issue. The way you reacted to it, the way you reacted to that doctor fat shaming you set unrealistic expectations for yourself. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I hope that one day you're able to see that, but then again, you're on this podcast and that's very unlikely. Anyways, guys, I'll catch you in part 3. I don't know when I'm filming that. Hopefully sometime soon, hopefully Wednesday or something. But anyways, I'll see you later. I'll talk to you later. Okay. Bye.